One. All right. Hello there. So this is my uncle, and you work for which company? There we go. Am I coming through all right?
Hang on a second. I
Of
can
course.
let me just turn up my speakers here.
Of course. It's good to see you.
Likewise. Okay, where do we? Okay, there we go.
There we go.
Can
All
you
right.
can you see me okay?
Yep. I can see you pretty good.
Okay,
All right. So
perfect.
this is my uncle, and you work for which company again?
I work for a company called Ericsson.
Erickson. All right. So I've got quite a few questions lined up here. So can you tell me about your journey to become a VP of Managed Services and the COO?
Um, I've been in the industry for 37, 38 years. And throughout that time frame, I've been in the telecom industry for 38 plus years. And during that time frame, I've done many different roles. About 25 years ago, I ended up in management on the management track after being a software developer and for several years and system engineer. And during that time frame, I have just managed every aspect of the software development lifecycle, which landed me the opportunity to get into this managed services role where I continue to provide a services to the telco industry on or the telecom industry, um, not only from a network perspective but also from software, customized software engineering and development.
That's pretty cool. So, what inspired you to pursue leadership in operations and service management?
Oh, boy, that question goes back because I don't know what I was thinking 25 years ago. Uh, but um, but yeah, I don't know. I just was naturally, maybe it might be part of my military background as well, but I just naturally um, was drawn towards leadership. And my boss at the time saw something in me probably that I didn't see and put me into a leadership role and then eventually into a management role. And then from there, I just thrived. I just continued on.
That's awesome. So, what does a typical day look like for you in this role?
Um, it's for me in this in the role that I'm in, I spend a lot of my time. My primary responsibility is delivering on solutions for our customer base. And as a result of that, I typically spend about half of my time every day focused on delivery and the other half of my time supporting my colleagues in a business development role. So I spend a lot of time, ensuring that our customer commitments are being made, helping my team to resolve obstacles that come in that get in their way. Um, the just but as you can imagine, my day is predominantly meetings, a lot of meetings, a lot of talking.
Oh, yeah. So, how do you balance strategic planning with day-to-day operations?
Um, well, everything that I do, uh, has to come from a place of strategic. And so, every company is in the business of making money. And, there's tactical decisions and there's strategic decisions that are made. And quite often, you have to make a balance between those two from and, but when you can, you need to make sure that your decisions are lining up with your overall strategy.
Absolutely.
The big
So,
picture. You got to keep the big picture in mind in your decision making process.
absolutely, which is a great segue into the next question I have here, which are what are the key metrics you use to track that progress and especially success in managed services?
So it varies from engagement to engagement, but delivery, on time delivery, quality, um, time to market. These are all some of the basic first time right. These and again, some of these may sounds very similar, and they are very similar, but in the time, depending on the type of engagement that I'm working on, they mean different things. And so, but overall, these are some of the basic metrics that we use, KPIs, um, key performance indicators, for measuring our success.
That is pretty awesome. So then the next one that I have lined up actually in terms of leadership is how do you build trust and motivation across all the teams that you have to manage?
Um, it's a good question. Um, you know, to earn trust, you have to give trust. It's sort of like respect. In order to earn respect, you have to be respectful. And one of the things that my team always knows from me is that I operate from a very high transparent position, and I'm very honest myself with my team, and so therefore I get a very trustworthy team. They trust me, I trust them, and they know that I will always have their back in front of the customer, in front of outside organizations. Yeah, we may have a difficult conversation, a difficult one-on-one conversation behind the just one-on-one, but I will always have their back, and they know that, and as a result of that, I've built trust.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's like what do they call it? The Spartan phalanx, where each person would line up side by side, and because of that, they became almost impractical to get in. It was one of the coolest historical ways that they used to fight back in the day. So, thinking of that actually, what is one of the weirdest or most unexpected tactics that you've used that's worked?
I don't know. I might have to come back to that one. Nothing's coming to mind. An unusual tactic that has worked. Yeah, can't. I'm not sure that I can come up with something that's unusual. I would think that a lot of my strategy and the way I lead is um, pretty 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 forthcoming, forthright.
Very forthcoming. I'll write that down as a note. So then, what is your approach to conflict resolution or tough decision making, like with those conversations?
Um, I am very data driven, and so one of the things that if I have the time, I will spend the time in trying to understand the um, all aspects of a given situation, whether it's in conflict resolution or even a tough decision that needs to be made. I try and make that decision with as much information as possible.
Hmm.
And I will seek out information from various different people or groups in order to make that decision. Again, time is always a factor that I have to factor into it. Sometimes decisions need to be made sooner than, some decisions need to be made sooner than others. And so you've got to balance that to be sure. In conflict resolution, it's easy to address the symptom.
Hmm.
It's hard. What is really necessary is to address the cause,
Oh
and
yeah.
and um and getting to the cause is usually takes time, and a little bit of digging, a little bit of questioning, a little bit of probing. The technique of 5 whys is a good way of doing that, of trying to get to that cause, and whether that's a good technique for various different problem solving.
Yeah. What are the 5 whys?
It's just a method that you use to ask yourself why. It's like the example of um, if you just use just a simple problem of um, there's water on the floor in the kitchen.
Hmm.
Why? Because
Ah,
why,
yeah,
and then you come up with that answer, and then you ask yourself again why, and then
yeah,
you come up with that answer, and you ask again why. So you just go through that process and usually by the time you get to the fifth why, you have a better understanding of the cause.
yeah. So like with the water example, like it could be as simple as like there was an ice cube that was dropped on the floor that nobody really noticed when they were like filling up a tumbler or something, and then it was left on the ground so it melts, then the water's there. So then you ask, no, maybe that's not a good example because I'm thinking more like
Yeah,
maybe a
yeah.
broken faucet,
Yeah,
maybe.
right. It could be a broken faucet, or was the faucet left on? There's various different. It might be not a good analogy, but the point is that you just try to. And I was trying to think of a better analogy or a better example. But the point is that you just ask yourself, regardless of what answer you give or is
Hmm.
given,
Hmm.
ask again. Well, why is that? Until you get to the fit, until you get down to where you just really can't answer that anymore. And
Yeah. Like I got
so
it. Like if you're managing, like for example, like for my degree, what I'm getting is business administration for social media management. So then a good analogy for that would be like, like this post got more responses than that one. So then why did the one that got more responses have more? Why did the one that have less? And then, follow it down there. Like, why did they respond more to this? What exactly caused that? What was the trend behind it? What was and then just keep going down those whys. I love that. I'm definitely going to keep that as a marker for the future, actually. The 5 whys. I love that. All right, so the next question. Can you share a moment when you had to lead through a major challenge or crisis at the workplace?
um yeah. um there what do you want, what are you trying to what's you I had a situation where our product team, the software that was delivered by our product team, and was not, um, let's just say it had a few errors that wouldn't allow it to be installed correctly. That generated a some concern by the customer, because the customer had some really tight deadlines in order to meet this. They had some product marketing material that was relying on some of the software features that were coming out in that release. And so there was just a lot of pressure from the customer to get this software installed, but and deployed into production and launched. And but we were having a problem actually completing the install. The install kept failing. We went 3 rounds of install, and we finally took a step back and had to look at the the situation that, and granted, each one of those failures was unique in and of itself, but it did point to a quality issue that came out of one of our development groups, and we had to take a step back, look at what was that challenge, manage the customer and the customer expectations. So, that there's both sides of the fence there, both an internal and an external um, aspect or element to it.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. Well, I mean, awesome you were able to figure it out. And then that, of course, led back to the whys there too, because there you had to ask those again to figure
Mm-hmm.
out which department it came out of, then who to talk to, and then figure out from there why did they allow that issue to happen, even if it wasn't their fault. I mean, it could just be a tech issue and stuff. Which, speaking of tech stuff like that, so what trends are shaping the future of managed services right now?
It's well, um, AI, automation. These are some technologies that are emerging that are going to be significant. Autonomous networks. These are things that that um, it's going to shape the future. Um, Now that's from a services perspective, and who knows what the 6G network is going to bring, and what new challenges the 6G radio spectra, or the radio, um, will have.
So, is there a trend you think is overhyped or potentially even dangerous?
Um, no, I don't think so. I've been playing with, and my teams have been using and developing tools in both the AI and automation for quite some time. Automation for quite some time. AI, not maybe as long, but I think the biggest challenge that we're going to have going into the future with AI is security. Is to ensure that software, especially from a software development perspective, to ensure that our software is um, is secure, and that the large language models do not get infiltrated by the nefarious actors.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's one thing that even Elon Musk has been talking about as well with AI is, I mean, of course, he's definitely leading X, but he's also been saying that one of the more difficult challenges right now, from what I read just a minute ago on X, was actually Chinese hackers, which he doesn't know what they were using that data for. They were definitely getting in. Um, And then, of course, Oklahoma was talking about it too. But back onto the topic, though. So, how do you stay ahead of technological changes and client expectations?
Yeah, just I mean, throughout the years, I have observed the technology change significantly, and it's just a matter of just staying up with what is the late, industry trends through reading, through um, um, conferences, other customer and vendor interactions. So just it's important to stay up with technology, and there's various different ways of doing that. um, Many people, well, not many people, I'm a firm believer is that you never stop learning, and that's one of the good things about our company is that we continuously are encouraging people to learn, grow, upskill, and it happens in various different ways, from just informal brown bag type lunch and learns to formalized training, through uh, various different online capabilities, or or even formalized training through consulting firms and things of that nature. So, but I'm a firm believer that we've got to that in this industry we've got to stay up on the technology trends and what the emerging technologies.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what role does ethical leadership play in your decision making? That's actually a really good question there. Sorry,
Um,
sorry.
well, I think what you're asking is how does ethics play into my leadership role?
Exactly.
And I'll tell you that ethics, every decision that is made has to be made from an ethical background, or from an ethical basis. Is it how one thing that you always got to ask yourself is how will this, regardless of what your motivation is, how will this decision be perceived? Because perception can be reality.
Yep.
And the it's key that even if your intention was and it just something as simple a decision of taking a client to lunch. Okay, it can be
Hmm.
an easy, that's a simple decision, and with um no harmful intent, but it could be perceived inappropriate, especially if the company is going through a a, a contract negotiation,
Yeah.
or they're going through some other business planning together. So you've got to sorry. Uh,
No
so
worries, no worries.
so regardless of the decision that it needs to be made, whether it big or small, the ethics has to play a role, has to play a part in it.
Absolutely. One thing as well with the perception and stuff is I'm taking multiple classes on what they formally call corporate social responsibility, which one of the aspects of it, which is actually thinking about, is like the more power that a company has, if they don't use it like responsibly, the more likely they are to lose that power because people won't trust them. So in a way, that's exactly what we were talking about. Like take one client out, another client might ask, why didn't you do that with me? We met 2 weeks ago, and it's like, oh boy, now we've got something that just cascades like a snowball down a hill. So it's all about public perception, and of course, trying to be as ethical as you can, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yep. So then on to the next question here, personal reflections. What is the most rewarding part of your job?
I like how challenging it is, and um how I'm challenged um every day, in something new. I like how it's ever changing, regardless of what my my calendar says. When I start the day, I can always guarantee or bank on something something changing in it,
Absolutely.
because just it's just, so I like how dynamic it is, and the opportunities that it gives me to learn new things, participate in different technologies, um, for um, solve for some very complex and interesting problems. It allows me to be involved in some innovation. It allows me to be involved in emerging technologies. So all of these different things, the just the scope and breadth of what I do, and the variability that I have in my job, just makes it very to where it's not very often I have 2 days alike.
Yeah, that's pretty, that's,
If you know what I mean by that.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Definitely. I'm definitely not one really for the status quo either. I love it when things change up so every so often. So the next question I wrote here is, and I'm gonna try to figure out a better way how to word it, but was there ever a moment you thought like it might be like a little bit too like challenging and stuff, so then you wanted to kind of give up, but then what pulled you back from wanting to give up to keep pursuing the career?
I think that, over the course of my career, there's probably have been different times where I've said, maybe I should go do something different. Or um, there has been those times. But I think what always pulls me back in is just a success story, you know, launching a new product or, you know, designing some new solution, or helping to solve for some customer problem has always pulled me back in and has given me a sense of satisfaction, job satisfaction,
Yeah,
and, reinvigorates, and has been reinvigorating. So,
absolutely. So what advice would you give to someone aspiring to enter operations leadership?
it's not just operations, like I said, my job is my primary role is delivery. And it doesn't, and this, I think this advice doesn't just apply to this, but I think it just applies to almost anything I can think of, is be open-minded, take on the challenges, um, because it's through those challenges that's going to cause you to grow. It's going to stretch you. Do not be afraid to take on the unknown.
I love that. Do not be afraid to take on the unknown. I love that. Take on the unknown. Um, yeah, I love that because there's so many unknowns with like technology, and especially, I mean, if we were to think about even like 15 years ago, I don't think anyone was expecting AI to take off as much as it has. But now here we are, and Tesla's revealing robots all the time. I mean, they're not very advanced, but they're still robots. They're able to do stuff now. Crazy how much that's advanced. So, how do you support work-life balance and personal well-being in such a demanding role?
It's interesting. That's a very interesting question, and it's probably in the world of today, especially over the last 5 years, where in this industry, along with many other industries, a lot of um, people have gotten used to working remote and working from home. And one of the ways that I end up creating a good work-life balance is that I go into the office every day. And I go into the office every day because it creates very strict boundaries for myself.
Mhm.
And when I come home from work, unless it's absolutely necessary, I'm done.
Ah,
Um, and you know, no, I'm not saying that I won't work from home and I won't work, into the evening or anything like that, but it's not my norm. I
yeah,
create my commute to and from the office every day is my boundary that helps me establish a good work-life balance.
yeah,
Um, and I know that for myself, when I was in COVID and I was working from home every day, is I didn't have that work-life balance. And that's when I realized, um, what is that the return to office and working in an office is what really helps create that for me.
yeah. I love that, because then, I mean, even through like, say, like if you have like an office space that has like doors that can close, it's still, I've read in other people who do work from home all the time that it's like, what's the word without like going kind of crazy into it, but like temptation kind of, like where it's like, I got enough done today, everything is good. I don't have anything that needs to be done. But then they get that pull in to want to just go back in there. to where then they just kind of neglect their own personal health for it to the point where they just almost become workaholics over it. It's crazy how that
Some,
works.
I think that that's one aspect of it, but that's, and I think but that's just one way for me that I've been able to maintain a good work-life balance. And the other is that I work hard and I play hard. So, I mean, so when I'm at work or when I'm working, I'm working. And when I'm on, and I try when I'm on vacation, I'm on vacation.
Yeah, pretty much
So,
turn off the work side of the phone and just kind of maybe even turn it off completely, as some people do, and just hang out and yeah. All right. So we have about 9 minutes left, but so now with that, I'd like to say thank you for your time, of course, on this interview. I learned definitely a lot, and I actually have a final soft personal question. So, what is the one thing your team doesn't know about you that might actually surprise them?
well, I think actually it's interesting that you brought this up because I think a lot of my team members did not know that I served in the military in a combat zone until recently, but now many of them do. That's I think that surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, combat zone in recent years. There we go. Yeah. So thank you for the time again, of course. And yeah. So since we do have a little bit of time left, and I covered all my major questions, because it is not really too much of a formal interview, is there any questions that you think that you'd like to answer that you can think up of off the top of your head you
No,
want to
I
talk
didn't
about?
have a lot of background. We didn't talk a lot going into this, so I wasn't sure exactly what course this is. What is it? A paper that you have to do? What's the
It's kind of like
what's the
a
outcome?
It's kind of like a 50-50. So it's kind of like a paper. So then what I do is, because I've been recording, is I have to save the recording, upload it, connect it to a document, and then like kind of write in 3 or 4 sentences over the things that I've learned and the things that we've talked about, like the whys and stuff. I'm going to go back to that quite often. Then I write about that in like 3 or 4 sentences. And then from there, the next part is like it asks that like for 3 different things. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I know that we do have to write kind of like a paragraph on it. Well, I do at least. And then from there, just turn it in. And it's a full grade. They call it an experiential learning assignment. Basically, it's due around October 5th, but I'm glad that we're getting it done now so we don't do it last minute. We're panicked and stuff. So but it's just kind of like an experiential kind of talk about what you're interested in, talk to someone that's in a field that you're intrigued in, which yes, I am absolutely intrigued in all realms of technology, especially like telecommunications is really cool. I myself might actually be looking to work for Microsoft one day, which if you were to ask me almost 20 years ago, I would have told you, you were crazy, but not really anymore. Been following them on Twitter and X. They've really been supporting values that I've been standing behind lately. Really impressed with it. But yeah, actually I think I can pull up just so because that was a really good question that you asked there. It is just a professional business class. Well, I shouldn't say the word just a, but you know. So the first one is like, tell us about the individual you met with and how your conversation went. Well, of course, I'm gonna write that went really well, learned a lot. What guidance or insights were helpful when considering your career options? I'd say that what you talked about here, in terms of just like the tech field and stuff, I absolutely love all of that. And tell us what your biggest takeaway was to not be afraid of taking on challenges. That the realm of uh, technology evolves all the time. So, I mean, like, who knows what it's going to be doing in like 5 years from now? So,
Mhm.
I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and to expand upon that a little bit, Chase, the and I throughout my career, and I've managed many different types of people and personalities, and you give a and different people look at it differently. Some people will take a look at a challenge that I put in front of them, and and if it's optional, sometimes challenges aren't optional, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but you put a challenge in front of somebody that's optional, the first thing they do is they weigh a lot of times what's my opportunity for success, and
Yeah.
depending upon their confidence in themselves, they will rank themselves differently, and um and and other people will look at that as a learning opportunity and say, you know, I have a high probability of success, but if I do, but they will look at it also from the perspective to say, if I fail, I've still learned.
Yeah.
And so it sometimes it's just all about perception of, or your own perspective, of how you view those things, and what you value,
Yeah.
what motivates you, and and in some cases, some people, and this is the thing, this is something as a leader that I've learned over the years, is that you can't manage and lead everybody the same.
No, definitely not.
And everybody, as a leader, you have to adapt a lot of times your leadership style to the people, because the most important thing about a leader is to get people to follow you. And you got to ask yourself, why would anybody want to follow me? And and when you can ask yourself that question, and you can answer that question honestly,
Hmm.
then you're going to be able to lead people. Another um, um, thing that I have learned over time as a leader is that, and these are not new principles. It's taught in many different books on leadership, but it has also been something that has been. Um, you asked me about trust earlier,
Yes.
and and I think this is something that has really helped me earn the trust of my team, and that is that any success that the team has is on
Hmm.
them. Any
Absolutely.
failure, any failure is on me. And there's always something that I can look back at as a leader and say, I could have done this better and prevented the team or prevented this failure from occurring.
Yeah.
And so and there's a lot of truth to that. And I think that and when um and when you do that, and you basically you show vulnerability as well to your team, and in that you also earn trust and respect.
I love that. Yeah.
So
Show vulnerability and don't be nervous of it. Don't be nervous. Yeah. Yeah. Because,
there's a really
mhm.
good book that I'm reading right now, and I haven't finished it, but I'm about halfway through it. And it's called Extreme Leadership: How the Navy SEALs. I think yeah. Oh, I got to look up the full name of it now.
No
But
worries. No worries.
um, yeah, uh, yeah.
Leader
Oh no, it's Extreme Ownership: How
ownership.
U.S. Navy SEALs Lead and Win. It's really good. And another good book, if you're interested in leadership, that has a lot of really good principles, and their basic principles,
Mm-hmm.
is Lincoln on Leadership. I
Lincoln
have given
leadership.
that book to almost every one of my new leaders throughout my career and said, "Hey, this is a good book." And it's
Yeah.
not a it's not a it's not a long read. It's a very short read, but it's has some really good principles in it
Absolutely.
on leadership.
Yeah, thank you for your time. We have less than 1 minute, but yeah, thank you for the interview. And yeah, just oh man, this is gonna be super fun to write about. But it's been nice catching up.
Yes, it was good to see you again, Chase. Tell your mom and dad hi for me.
Yep, I already have. My mom actually walked in just a minute ago and she was very quiet about it, but she waved hi and stuff. She's pretty excited. That's who am I? All
Very
right,
good.
but yeah. All right, see ya. Take care.